program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are.
Hi, I want to welcome everyone back to another episode of Soul Impact. I'm your host, Wild Willie. Today with us, I got Nathan Wade. Nathan, how are you today?
Not too bad, Willie. It's good to see you.
You too, buddy. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and kind of where you are with your music right now?
Sure. Yeah, I'm just a guy from Nebraska that's trying to get back into the music scene. I took about 10 years off, really. That's kind of on me. I kind of gave up on it, and now that I'm raising my grandson, I finally decided I need to get my butt back in it, and because I'm trying to teach him to chase his dreams and those kind of things, and I wasn't doing it. So here I am.
All right, right on. So how'd you get into music?
When I was just getting out of, say, high school and stuff, I kind of started singing karaoke, and everybody's like, "Hey, you sound pretty good." And then I moved to Maine. But at that point, I'm still in Maine, but I moved back to Nebraska when I was 21, and I got myself my first guitar and taught myself enough how to play it and started writing songs, and just kind of took off from there.
Right on. So a little bit about what drives Soul Impact is I was one of them kids that wasn't fortunate, and I had a pretty rough childhood with abuse, and music has always been my saving grace. Like, it kept my depression, anxiety, all that. It kind of gave me an outlet of where a direction on how to feel and deal with my emotions, and that stuff nobody wants to talk about. And then into an adult, when I went through divorce and some other stuff, it just has always been my rock. And I kind of wanted to give you artists a voice, because a lot of people idolize you guys. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with looking up to somebody, but there's a difference between idolizing and looking up. You can look up to someone without worshiping what they do.
Right.
And, growing up, I wanted to learn to play the guitar. However, I broke my arm and couldn't. So I got it. I had a good friend of mine of the family. His name was Lee. We called him Big Lee. He was a DJ karaoke guy. And I remember as soon as I found out I couldn't play guitar, I was like, I want to do that. So I kind of ventured into about 5 years ago, I ventured into running my own DJ company. I have a company called Backwoods Production, DJ Karaoke Sound Company. So, and I use that to give back to the community. So I kind of wanted to use that platform that I've had 5 good years to branch over and do this, because as running sound for different artists, you see the heart they put into everything. So I wanted people to be able to have that voice and tell their story, because everybody has a story. Just because you ain't gone through what I have gone through or what this person has gone through doesn't mean Nathan doesn't have a story.
I got several stories. I don't know where to start.
All right. So we'll start with a simple question. Well, maybe simple, but a hard answer. At what point was your hardest point where music has pulled you out from where, like, it was so dark you thought you would never move forward?
Yeah, I think just a few years ago, I went through a divorce, and I was sitting in the basement of the house I was about to lose, the ex-wife, and we had our issues. It was not a one-sided deal, but I think sitting down there is when I realized, my biggest issues in life, and I wanted to address that. So I sat down and I wrote a song called "If the Devil Don't Get You, Man, the Whiskey Will." And I remember one, how good it sounded in that basement. So I really loved that acoustic, but it also just kind of cut to the heart of what my issues were. And, I would say 95% of the issues that I've ever had have been whiskey driven. So, um, I've tried to cut back on that. But, after I moved out of that house, I ended up in a rundown house in Martell, Nebraska. And, things were just going terribly. And, that's when I pretty much looked up and I asked, God to help me out. And that was just a couple years ago now. And I feel like, man, he's always there somewhere. Just like this week, my transmission's going out in my car, and I've been praying and praying on that. And the warranty company was kind of faltering and trying to make me jump through every hoop they possibly could. And yesterday, the transmission company called me and said that they approved it. So we're gonna get a brand new transmission so I can get down the road. And I got all these shows I'm starting to book now, and I'm definitely need a vehicle. And like I said, I'm raising my 8-year-old grandson, and he's I got to get him to school and taekwondo and gymnastics now. So that's been one of the biggest things. The darkest thing was, the divorce and going through and not embracing my music. So that song kind of brought it back a little bit, but it took a couple years until just this year for me to quit my job and get back into music full time and try to make this thing work one more time.
And that's, you hit on something that's dead right. You got to follow your dreams. You really do. Like, well, you interviewed with him already. Bubba Starks. He's a really good friend of mine. Believe it or not, we only met 3 months ago.
Right.
But we instantly connected. It was like a lifelong friend that I felt that I've known forever,
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys, man. He just projects that, he'll have a laugh with you, he'll have a beer with you, he'll sing a song with you. He's just one of those guys, man.
I've seen him mad too. But anyway, I met at a festival. Me and him tag team sound at one of these festivals I do, and he showed me the ropes because I've been dabbling in sound for like the last 3 or 4 years, but didn't have a whole lot of experience. So, but I love running sound, so I'm always open to learning new things. And we was at this festival out in Summersville, out at Captain Jack's campground, and they I said, Bubba, I got this idea that I want to do, but I don't have the nerve to do it. And I told him about my podcast idea. He's like, Willie, that is an amazing idea. You should go for it. Well, we talked, and next thing I know, he's getting a hold of me, and he's like, I think you need to go for it, And I was like, he's like, and I'm thankful for him. Like, and I go into that spill to say what I'm getting ready to say. You got to find a mentor. No matter what you're doing, you got to find a mentor. It is an important role for someone to have a mentor. Someone you can look up to and help guide you along the way. Be your person in your corner that when you have a show and only 5 people show up, they help motivate you to keep going. And I was very fortunate, and I'm blessed beyond measures that I have Bubba in my corner. He, I actually a month ago I got brought on to his network. He reached out to me, and we were talking, and I was like, hey, I want to be a part of this. So officially, as a month ago, I became part of the Scene Project Network. And you just gotta believe, no matter what you're doing, that one. If you fail, try again. There's so many different ways to skin a cat. How you skin a cat may not be necessarily the way I skin a cat. Doesn't mean your way's wrong and my way's right. It just means you got to find what works for you. So has there been a person in your life that you kind of looked up to that kind of helped guide you along?
I mean, there's been a few. It's just, I grew up, never really having a dad, so it definitely wasn't that. My real father, it turns out, had about 27 children that we know of. So that's a whole story in itself. I only met him one time, but Yeah, so I mean, I would say as far as like a work ethic and stuff like that, I got that from my mom. She raised us as just me and my brother. Raised us up, and once I started doing music, my Aunt Judy, she was a huge supporter. So when she passed from cancer, that was kind of a big hit. And I remember the next several shows after that, I actually brought a picture of her and set a chair on stage for that one. But and I think musically for me, it's been a lot of the classic guys like the Waylon Jennings and the Johnny Cashes. And my era was more like the Alan Jacksons and Toby Keiths and Garth and stuff like that. It's a good mix of the more traditional artists. But I think at this point, at my age now, I'm almost, because I didn't let a lot of people mentor me necessarily on the way up. I thought I could just do it all myself. And now that I'm doing this again, I've got younger folks reaching out, and I take every opportunity I can to tell them, this is what you want to do. This is what you shouldn't do, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like I'm embracing trying to maybe be a mentor to some younger folks and for them to get into it and try to do it the right way.
Oh yeah, and it's a cycle. You can't just get poured into. You got to pour into somebody else, because what's the point of getting all this knowledge and letting it die with you? I mean,
Yeah.
We actually, me, Bubba, and another guy named Boo Boo, we actually have a podcast on Wednesday nights where we have artists submit their MP3s and we bring them on the show and we talk about, hear their music, and we let people do a live review right there on live. It's live streamed to YouTube as it's recorded.
Well, I got music.
Well,
that's one thing I got.
I do believe you already submitted the form though, didn't you?
Which form? I'm not sure.
The Google form Bubba had you fill out.
Oh, probably. I don't remember honestly, but
if
probably.
Not, I'll look, and if not, I'll send a link over to you on Facebook. So how can somebody find your music?
It's on all the major streaming platforms. Now, I will say I haven't recorded anything in 10 years. So this was my 10-year anniversary of my last studio album was What I Love and What I Do. We got a couple before that. So most of the stuff that's recorded is a lot of the older stuff. I mean, I still play it all. It's still impactful music. And but Apple Music, Spotify, which I'm actually trying to get off of. I guess a lot of artists are having trouble with Spotify. But Apple Music, CD Baby, YouTube, all those main streaming.
Yeah. So you said you have lots of stories. Let's get another story from you.
Well, so I mean, basically over the last, when I got into music, and it kind of took off pretty quick, and I was winning some contests and stuff like that, and I decided I should be the George Jones and the Outlaws, and do the rock star thing, and my wives didn't like that too much, so I have had 3 of those now. I'm 49 now, but yeah, I got married at 21 and started doing music, and then started doing everything else that comes with being a rock star, and wives don't take too kindly to that. And the last one was more of a mutual thing, but the first 2 were definitely on me. I like to think I'm finally starting to grow up a little bit, and
do we really ever grow up? Really ever grow up?
Yeah, but I can't handle that kind of living anymore.
Our toys just cost more.
Yeah, a lot of alcohol, a lot of women. I got a lot of songs about it.
But yeah, I mean, and on the whole, shout out to the single moms out there or single parents doing you and raising your kids. Y'all keep going, keep chasing your dreams. I'm 35 and I'm a single parent to a 2-year-old. Well, she'll be 3 this month. So just keep doing your thing. Don't give up. She's at school right now, but I've had episodes where you can hear my daughter in the background, Daddy, I need your help.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, I want the rawness of it. I've never edited a video. The only thing I've ever done is add, until I got over here, was add the intro videos. That's all I ever done. Now that I'm over, because within like the last couple of weeks, I switched over to StreamYard. And it's a whole different ball game over here, because now I can, like, well, you saw it, put all my intros, and I ain't got to go back and edit it. I don't touch my videos because I like the rawness of it. But I can relate. My dad was an alcoholic. He wasn't in the picture. He come around every now and then. When I was 14, he died. So I relate a lot with that, because, and that's probably where I struggled the most. And then my mom got with my stepdad, and he beat the tar out of me. He put true meaning to redheaded, beat you like a redheaded stepchild. Granted, I wasn't redheaded, but
maybe he's trying to beat the redhead into you.
That's probably what it is. But no, I was very fortunate. And, a lot of people don't have a family support system that don't believe in them. And I can honestly say in that aspect, I'm pretty lucky. Whether it's my DJing or my podcast, people are so encouraging. And you got to, and I have haters. And this is for a tidbit for you out there that have haters. Don't retaliate. If they're commenting on your stuff, don't retaliate. For one, they're bumping up your algorithm, and more people are going to see your videos.
That's the one I struggle with a lot when people come at me. And I've gotten better, but over the years, I was always that person. Like, if you're coming at me, I'm coming at you 2 times harder. You're not going to tell me. And if I know it's the truth, I'm going to stand on it, and those kind of things. But what I have learned is just what you're saying is, those people there's going to be people that don't like my music. And that's why I kind of got out of it, because I listened to all that. And I had people telling me, people don't just want to sit here and listen to original music. You got to play covers. You got to do this. And I didn't want to do that. And I was so stubborn. So I just basically sat it out. And this year I was at a dead end job and just struggling so bad and not wanting to be there every day. And I finally decided it's time. Let's give this music thing another shot. We're going to go out. We're going to sing my songs. And I can't even tell you how amazing it's been these past few months. I think maybe I've been asked twice to play a cover song, but people will just sit there and listen to my songs all night. It's pretty amazing and pretty humbling, and I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, and you do have that natural raspy old country feel.
Yeah, I actually got approached by a band recently, which I've tried over the last 10 years to kind of get hooked up with a band, and just nobody around here really wants to do the original thing with me. And I did have this band approach me a few months back, and they said, "Well, we're looking for a singer," and they listened to my songs, and they got back with me and said, "Well, the group just thinks you're too traditional."
You're too what? I'm sorry.
Too traditional.
Really?
Too traditional country. They wanted to do alternate country, and they said I was too traditional. So I said, "Thank you very much," and I'm going to keep doing that.
And you got to be yourself. Even when I joined the podcast network with Bubba, I made sure that I told him that, or I didn't tell him. I asked him. I was like, "Look, I want to be my own person. I want to run this how I want to run it." And whether it's a record label, network, a band, as an artist, it's so important to stay true to who you are.
I think that's where so many people get lost. You sign on, for the fame and fortune, which is what I was chasing in the beginning. I wanted to be the guy. My first studio album was called My Own Name because everybody said I looked like Brad Paisley and sounded like, or sounded like this guy and sounded like that guy, and I just wanted to make my own name. And now for me, this go around, it's really more about who I can impact with my music. So like when we're talking about the soul impact and how did it save us? I mean, like you said, music's always been kind of a part of your soul. For me, creating songs that help other people, soothe their soul and that they can relate to me, that's real country music. And I have a song called Katie's Heart. It's been one of my biggest songs, and that happened at what we call a random meeting. And I met this gal, and she told me the story about her daughter had passed away of bacterial meningitis. And the very next day, I called her up and I said, I really feel like I need to write a song about this story. And the coincidences go on because I had just gotten back from playing a show in Corpus Christi, Texas. And then I meet her 2 weeks later, and she tells me that her daughter's heart was in a young boy in Corpus Christi, Texas. That's where her heart went, because she donated several organs to save other people. And then you get into the story a little bit more, and the boy's name happened to be Taylor. And so the next day after I meet her, I write this song called Katie's Heart, and the brand of guitar was a Taylor. And so I ended up donating that guitar to Katie's grandparents. And Gloria, Katie's mom, put some artwork on there because she's a tattoo artist and an artist. And that's still hanging in Bill and Linda's living room. So just the impact of that loss, they suffer from that loss every day, but they have a song like Katie's Heart that kind of brought us all together. We're like family. They come to the shows, we sing that song. Everybody cries, including me half the time. And, it's just being able to create something like that helps a family in the way that it did. Her little sister, Kendra, who was 7 at the time, was completely introverted from the loss of her sister. And she ends up at this show that I'm playing. And her mom's just in awe, because next thing you know, Kendra's sitting right in front of my microphone stand, Indian style, and just listening, hanging on every word. And I've been able to take them to football games, and they come out to shows. And I was at Kendra's graduation this past year, and I just played a show for a buddy of mine out by where they live, so they were able to come out. And then I found out that Kendra, who's now 19, is pregnant. So just crazy, the time span. I mean, we're talking 12 years, but the bond, the song brought us all together. And it's the same way with my military songs. I've just always had that special place in my heart for folks who fight for this country. And although I never served, I've been embraced by all branches. I've done many tributes and memorials, and it just humbles me every time to be able to put the story together, even if I haven't necessarily been through it, but to write the song for them and tell that story that is impactful on their end of it, and hits their soul like that.
Oh yeah, I can relate. So I do the same thing. I'm not a veteran, but I am the only DJ here in town that actually gives a discount for veterans. And a lot of them, they get nothing when they get home, and it's sad. But you hit on something, and that's going to bring me to my next question. When you're writing a song, what process do you use to create that song?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of different things. I mean, there are certain songwriters that go kind of by the book type of stuff, but it's never really like that for me, I don't think. Sometimes I can just sit down and just kind of come up with a little melody, and then I'll try to write words to that melody, and then it takes off as an actual story about my life, or what could be someone else's life. I write the fun songs too, but I think most impactful for me have been the songs that really hit the soul, of real folks who've been through been through hell somewhere along the way. And, sometimes I have a song called Without a Tear, and it's just basically about, you're going through a hard time, and all you want to do is actually hear songs that talk about a hard time that kind of gets you through it. It doesn't necessarily put you back in it, but it actually ends up getting you through it. So, sometimes a song just ain't a song without a tear. Is another song like that. But I did finally write a song. I've been trying for the last 6 years. I told you I've been raising my grandson. And like I said, I just kind of avoided it, writing and singing and stuff like that. And finally, when I decided to get back into doing this thing, I finally found the song that tells the story. And the funny thing is, it's because it is essentially the absolute story. I didn't have to come up with something catchy or anything like that. The song's called It's Gonna Be Okay. And, the first verse just goes, 3 weeks shy of 2 years old when they dropped you off in the driveway, tired eyes and a crusty nose, and you looked at me in a shy way. But when I picked you up out of that car, man, I felt the love growing in my heart. And I said, it's gonna be okay. I got you. Goes into the chorus there, and it just tells it. And it took 2 years, and 1 month later, we're sitting in a courtroom. The judge says, "Congratulations, the adoption went through." And then they asked my boy what he thought about all this. He just said, "I love my mama and papa, and we both lost it." And I mean, that's almost the exact words of the song. And I mean, you just tell the story, and that's a song in itself. So I got to right after we got him, he was just barely 2 years old. I had a show out in Iowa and brought him with us, and I ended up sitting on a tailgate singing my songs, and he got up there, and I got a picture of him just looking up at me with just these eyes, and he hadn't seen me or been with me to sing in 6 years. And I had the opportunity. I got to go play out in Ashland. They have this amazing venue called Country Drive Live out there right off a golf course, and just this huge stage. And I got to open for they're a huge Johnny Cash tribute band, and I got to open that show, and I got to bring Jax with me. And he came up on stage in his cowboy hat and his Nebraska jersey, and I got to sing that song for him. So pretty cool how that's kind of come full circle. And he's almost like my biggest inspiration today, because like I said, we've got him in Taekwondo, got him in that about 1.5 years ago, and he's already a level 2 brown belt. And just recently he started competitive gymnastics, because his mom actually owns a gymnastics studio here. So now he's in competitive gymnastics, getting better every day in that. And, just trying to tell him to keep going and fight harder and do these things. That's when I looked at myself and said, I got to keep going. And I think I got songs that impact people's lives. And so I'm glad to be out singing them again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's amazing that you're able to bring that full circle. I mean, you think about that and, the impact you telling your story, how that's going to affect different people. Bubba told me when I did his interview, my very first interview was his, and he said, when you get off a stage, by the way you play your music, people are going to know your story. And he couldn't be any more right. I mean, I'll deny this if he says I said it. So y'all don't tell anybody. But it's just, you got to have passion for what you're doing. You got to believe in yourself, even on my side of it. I've been a sound guy, like I said, for 4 years. I'm not the best, but I know that I'm ever learning, and I know that each day I'm getting a little better. Same with my podcast. You look at episode number 1 and you're like, oh my goodness, this guy's a clown.
The train wreck. It's a train wreck.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like, you know what? I'm a lovable train wreck, though. And and it's so funny, like them episodes where my daughter come out here and you hear daddy this, daddy that. You know what? I want that to be a motivation to people that no matter where you're at in your life, whether you're fresh out of a divorce or you're getting through an addiction or you're just depressed and don't know why. There's always room to go up. One of my favorite quotes is you win if you don't quit.
Yeah,
I don't
I was going to say that too. It's like, until you actually quit, you haven't failed anything.
exactly.
You get back up, you dust yourself off, and keep going. So you haven't failed anything. You're taking your lumps and you're getting your lessons. Those are lessons, not failures.
Exactly.
So that's what I try to tell my boy too. It's like, no, you didn't fail anything. If you keep going, you'll figure it out.
And that's what I try to instill in my daughter. I have other kids that I'm unfortunate and life happens and they don't live with me. Which I really don't feel like getting into on a podcast. But
We've all been there, bud.
I tell my daughter, and it's so cute. She'll see my laptop out and she'll see my headphones and she's like, "Oh, Daddy, you doing a podcast? You doing a podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, Daddy's doing a podcast." And I did one episode the other day. She sat in a chair the whole time and watched the whole podcast and didn't say a word.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. But even if she did, man, like you said, this is real life, right?
Right. I mean,
real life. I want it to be real. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but my little French bulldog is right behind me here, and every once in a while, it's not the chainsaw anymore. That's him snoring.
No, you can still hear the chainsaw.
Yeah, that's pretty loud.
But that's the thing. It's the rawness of it. I didn't know coming outside today that they're going to be cutting trees up the road. But it's the realness of it, whether it's struggling to get your music out there or, and there's revenues you can take. Like me and Bubba and myself, we actually, Bubba started it and I'm kind of joining up with him. We now have a radio station.
Right.
It's an online radio station where we're going to take it and allow a monthly membership for people to pay to be on the radio kind of thing. And because you're getting exposure out of it. And, and then as someone that does music and now a podcast, social media is so important.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem is I want to avoid social media, but I know I got to be there, It's just it's part of it. And so I just want to, technology, like you were talking about, I'm terrible with technology. Like I couldn't figure out how to get my Facebook pulled up on my laptop so I'd have a bigger screen and all that. And, just little stuff like that. And I need some help in that department for sure.
Well, I tell you, we do have access to a social media management company, and I use it. When I come on the Scene Project, I had less than 1,000 views on all my stuff across YouTube. Within a month, I have jumped from under 1,000 views to I checked it this morning and I was at 15,000 views. So I say that to say this. It's important to use your revenues, social media or YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, which is now X, whatever it is, you got to get yourself out there. You got to make sure people are promoting you and promote yourself. And if you struggle with that and you want access to a social media management company, get a hold of me. I can put you in touch with someone that does it. But the thing about that, everything costs. And give me just 1 second. I got to go grab my charger.
Sure.
That's a heck of a sight to come back to.
Oh, woke him up.
But no,
hogs.
Sorry, I fully charged my phone, so I thought it would be good, but because I use my phone as my web camera because it keeps it more at an eye level versus the laptop. But yeah, the importance to social media. If you're not using your social media and you need help, there's people that can help with that.
Yeah, what I've been able to do since I got this thing started again, I knew I had to do that. So, I created my Nathan Wade Country page for my music. And, I think I had a couple months ago, I think I had just under 400. And now I'm chasing 1,800. So it's moving. Like to see it move a little more. And I get, I do get frustrated sometimes because I feel like I have to get on there and talk about myself all the time. And I really don't necessarily want to have to do that. And so I'll just put out a post every once in a while about, tell me about how much this song impacted you. And, I want somebody else. I don't want to have to try and talk about myself all the time. I think back in the day, that's all I wanted to do. My own name. It was Nathan Wade. I wanted to be in everybody's face and be the best and all that stuff. And, now I just want a room to play in. I don't need the biggest stage. I need a room to play in with people who are willing to listen and hear the heart and soul coming out of every song for me. So I do know social media though, everybody's like, you got to have a TikTok. I'm like, God, I just never wanted to ever have a TikTok, but who knows? We'll see where it goes.
But I mean, so do you have a website?
No, just got Nathan Wade Country right now. It's just my Facebook. And, we built the website years ago and stuff like that when we had the band. We did really well. We kind of blew up really fast with that. But they didn't want to do more original music, and I did. So that's where that went.
There's nothing wrong with doing covers. But
no, I don't have any problem with other people doing covers. I just, in my mind, I have enough songs to play all night shows, and I would prefer not to have to sing a cover song. And there's people that are like, oh well, you have to do that. And I'm like, well, no, I don't actually have to do that. That's not what I want to do. So
I think it's a good place to start if you're going to get into music and you're not sure on it. I think covers are a good place to start.
And that's what happened with the band. And when I first started playing acoustic shows back in like 06, well, actually maybe a little before that, but yeah, it was a lot of cover songs, and I'd sneak in some originals. And then when I got the band together in 09, it was the same way. We started out with almost all cover songs, and then I kept building more and more originals in there, and I was releasing CDs and selling them at the shows for my original music. And I sold thousands upon thousands of CDs back in the day. And then I got to a point where I'm like, well, I want to keep adding originals. And my band was like, nah, then people aren't gonna think we're a cover band anymore. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like that's my plan. But they didn't really want to go for that. So, it's you can argue it all day. I get it. I mean, I'll go sit and watch. I'll go when I have an off night, and I'll go sit and watch a band that plays everybody else's music, and there's songs I know, and I sing along and tap to the beat and all of that, all of those things. And that's absolutely fine for them. It's just never been fine for me. I've just always had it in my head, my heart, that my songs are, I believe, good enough to stand on their own.
And you hit on right there. You believe in yourself. That's what you got to do. You got to believe in yourself. No matter if it's going to a 9-to-5 job, if it's being a single parent, if it's raising your grandkid, if it's no matter what it is, you've got to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself and you're not going to be able to comfortable about yourself, who else is going to believe in you?
And at that same extent, even if other people do believe in you and you don't believe in yourself,
what good does it do?
You're not going to go any farther. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. And that's what I lost for the past 10 years, I let the whispers sneak in, and, my shows started dwindling down because they didn't want to just listen to this guy with a guitar instead of a full band. Because, I was polar opposite. When I had the band and I wasn't strapped to a guitar, I had venue owners would call me like I was popcorn in a microwave. I was that kind of entertainer, like Garth Brooks, Luke Bryan. I was doing splits, push-ups, you name it. I was doing it. And then between verses, if there was a solo, I was doing 3 shots of whiskey and everything else. So, when you start falling over drum sets and stuff, they get a little weary about that, and then slurring all the words of the song and forgetting them all together. That gets a little messy, but, I don't know. If I could take some stuff back, I would obviously take a lot of that kind of stuff back. But, man, when I get on a stage, it just feels like that's my home, that 3 square feet. And it's just magic for me. It's a whole nother switch.
Oh, yeah. That's how I am. When I DJ, I got the Wild Willie come from when I'm DJing or running sound. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth. Guy out in a guy by the name of Hell House, his wife Jess. They're great people. I met them at the same festival, and they started calling me Wild Willie because you didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth. And you know what? Not always a good thing, but it ain't always a bad thing either. It keep you on your toes.
Well, yeah, we're probably similar. Like, other people don't know what's going to come out of our mouth, and sometimes we don't even know what's going to come out of our mouth. Because it's just reactionary, and sometimes you stick your foot in there and you got to dig it back out. But, yeah, I think I've gotten a little better at some of that. Again, like you talked about, people coming at you on Facebook or whatever, and, just being haters. And I've gotten better at kind of brushing that kind of stuff off. And I think that's been because of the last 3 months playing shows that I really wasn't sure about. Certain venues that I thought, man, this is the kind of venue I come to the bar and have a few drinks and this and that, but I've never seen them really have live music. It's called One More Bar here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I didn't think it was going to be my crowd. And you know what? It turned into my crowd. And the best part was my mom was out there, and she hadn't been to a show in a long time. And the gal next to her, she turns to my mom and she says, "We don't even like country music, but this is awesome." So, that's one of the best compliments you can get. It's like, "Oh, you don't like it?" But I just sat up here and played basically traditional country music with just me and my guitar, and you loved it, So it's just one of those things. If you can get them in the house to hear it, and that's all I really can ask for is if I can get you in the house to hear the music, I think you're going to find at least 1 or 2 that are going to hit you somewhere that you didn't think it was going to hit you. I had one guy tell me, he's like, "Well, dang it, I'm trying to drink my beer and I'm a grown man crying in the bar." When you get that kind of stuff, it's like, I'm not really trying to make you look like a sissy or anything, but man, you know what? I appreciate that.
If the shoe fits, right? And that's the thing about music is it constantly impacts you. I'm a diehard country fan, but there's music I listen to that isn't country. I'm not going to lie. Like when I went through my divorce and I was so angry about my divorce, I listened to She Hates Me by Puddle of Mud, and then I listened to Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. Once I got through where I was done being mad and I didn't know who I was anymore because the marriage was so bad on both parts that I had lost who I was. I didn't know who I was. So I sat down one night and this song just happened to come on my YouTube and I was like, hey, and I've known this song forever.
But you hear it a different way. There's different seasons of your life, and you can hear a song almost a totally different way than it hit you the first time you heard it,
Oh, absolutely.
That's the beauty of music. You can hear a song from 60, 70 years ago that maybe you were just like, meh. And then you're going through a season in your life and you hear one verse in there and you're just like, okay, now I know exactly what he was saying for my situation, I think that's just the beauty of music, and it doesn't matter what genre it is. I'm just, I'm writing a song right now that's basically like every time the country comes to call and I hear it calling me by name, because that's just what comes out of me. I've lived inside of city limits most of my life, but it always kind of felt strange. I always wanted to be out, in a field somewhere with a bonfire and stuff like that, rather than on the streets of the city and those kind of things. So I got a new song I'm working on for that. But yeah, it's just how music affects your life, and to be able to tell my story my way and those things, and have those kind of songs affect other people and they just get it. And when you're looking around a crowd when you're singing, have never heard the song before, and you just kind of see light bulbs come on and stuff like that, that's where it's at, man. Just to be able to connect.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and like you hit on the song and how the seasons. I say that about people too. People are in your life for a season. Don't get discouraged if someone leaves or want to leave. That season's over.
Yep. They want to stay.
You and this is kind of a PSA, but if you are that person that is drowning in a relationship and you're not happy and the other party wants to leave, let them. Or, it's okay to not be okay. Society has put such this motto on us that shake it off, you're okay, you're tough, blah, 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 blah. What don't kill you makes you stronger. We've all heard them all, the cliche.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? I'm the guy, I'm a 300-pound, 5'11" country boy from Missouri. If, it's okay to cry. It's okay not to be okay. On the flip side of that, if you're really not okay and you need help, reach out to someone, because someone always has a story or that can relate to you.
Yeah, that's what makes it tough for a lot of people, is they grew up in you're tough, you're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to, and we're coming out of that, obviously. That was kind of the era I grew up in. Just rub some dirt on it, be okay. And I've just always kind of rolled with stuff. Tough things happen, and I just realized I got to figure out how to get through that. But yeah, when I went through that last divorce, and living in a rundown house was all I could get, and I'm trying to raise my boy, I was feeling pretty lost and pretty dark at that particular point. And yeah, I knew I needed help, and I actually finally started reaching out to people.
And growing up, that's where I struggled, because I always heard, deal with your problems, push it down. Don't deal with your problems, push it down. Well, then, I had been drinking since I was 10 years old. And I'm talking heavy drinking. It was so much easier to get, even when I was a kid, than it is nowadays. Thankfully, it's harder for younger kids to get it now. I mean, it still happens, but it's harder. It's cost me so many issues that, you know what? I wouldn't change it for anything in the world, though, because it's what's made me who I am. There's a friend of mine told me this, and he says, if you ever notice, your windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. It's more important where you're going than where you've been.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, and I want to thank you again, Nathan, for being on the show today. I appreciate you taking time.
Oh, I appreciate you, Willie.
So why don't you tell everybody, because we're probably going to wrap up here soon. Why don't you tell everybody one more time where they can find your music?
Sure, man. Like I said, I'm kind of just operating off Facebook right now, so it's just Nathan Wade Country. Get on there, be my friend, and you'll see a lot of the most recent videos of performances and stuff like that. So a lot of songs nobody's ever heard before because they haven't been recorded. Yeah, and I just updated my shows. So we're starting to pick up. need to fill some holes here for the end of the year, but everything's going pretty well. I got invited to do the Trails of Tales Songwriter Festival out there in Deadwood in the middle of October. So I'm pretty honored to be on that list and get to go out there and showcase what I'm doing with my music. And it's just really cool to be doing this again and feel like I'm having an impact. I also just got approached just yesterday by it's called Dog Tags Garage, and their sole focus is for veteran suicide prevention, and they want me to play at their event coming up here this fall. So those are the kind of ones that just kind of hit you, that they noticed something that spoke to them, probably in some of my military type songs and tributes, and I'm just honored to be asked to possibly step on that stage.
Yeah, and that's what hits. That really is, because like I also use my business to give back to the community. Over here they do a hero marathon, which they run 26.2. They run a marathon, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I don't know the distance. I'm not gonna lie.
26.2. You were right. I've never run one, but I know the distance.
But every year I've had my business going on 5 years, and every year I had volunteered my business for that. And they do a local toy drive over here. I use it to give back to the community. Both of those I don't get a dime for. And I don't say that to give myself a pat on the back, but I say that to say this. Use what you're doing to give back to your community. Because if you ain't looking out for your community, who is?
Yeah, that's exactly right. When you have some sort of platform that you can use, I've been doing a disabled veterans show for 10 years straight now. A buddy of mine who puts that on every year, and I don't rarely get paid anything, and I've actually donated, I think now 4 guitars to that for auctions. One year I donated the shirt off my back. It was the last one. It was actually this really cool Wrangler button up, and it was the American flag. I loved that shirt. I used to perform in it as much as I could, and then this guy said, "Listen, I want that shirt." I said, "Well, you're gonna have to pay for it so we can donate it." And shirt off my back, hats off my head, everything else. If you can give something. I feel like my music gives a good impact and those things. But yeah, if you can do those kind of things every once in a while and still pay the bills, you're good to go.
Oh yeah, and it's so important to find that niche. Your niche happens to be traditional country style music. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a wide range of music for that. That's what drew me to you. I like that traditional style music. Yes, I'm a DJ, but naturally what you hear on my radio is country music. I was raised, and I tell everybody I was raised in the wrong generation, because I do like the Waylon Jennings, Conway Twitty, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, the list could go on. And I almost prefer that stuff over today's music.
Yeah, that's my boat. I'm in that boat.
Not because today's music's bad. I just connect better with the older country because it's more heartfelt, like you said earlier, And there is some exceptions. There is. I think, and this is just my opinion, too many people pursue it just because it's hot. And, country music's hot right now. I want to be a country music artist. Well, then rock and roll becomes hot, so then they're going to become a rock and roll star. Pick your genre and stay with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different world. That's exactly what they're doing now with it. And, some of the, like you said, some of the stuff I'm really enjoying that's coming out, but I haven't really listened to contemporary country, pop country radio, whatever,
that's exactly
right about early 2000s. I would say. I played some of it in the band because, you know, it was a hot song. So we put it on the set list and stuff like that, you know. But in general, I'd be up there doing my push-ups and sit-ups, but I'd still be cranking out a George Strait song or something like that, you know. But
You know, and they're iconic. You know, my daughter is named after I Could Still Make Cheyenne. You know, Cheyenne, Wyoming is beautiful. I was a truck driver for a while, and that was always so exciting when I got to go through Cheyenne, Wyoming. It's so freaking beautiful. And so I kind of put my foot down on that. I was like, her name's Cheyenne, Wyoming, or Cheyenne, because I still like Cheyenne. I can still make Cheyenne. Great song. You know, a lot of heart goes into that song. You know, and I'm not saying artists today don't put their heart into it. It's just I feel certain artists, they put too many styles into a song and it loses focus.
yeah, it's a different world. So you can't. Everything's a progression. You know, it used to be they'd say it was country and western, then it just changed to country. You know, I feel more like they should change the name of it and say this is pop country, or you know, that kind of thing.
Exactly, because you do have people like you and me that like the traditional country, and not saying anything wrong with this pop country, because some of it, and I call it that too, because that's so funny, because I've never heard anybody else really call it that. But not anything wrong with it. There's some good moving songs, and I use them to DJ. I do. But, you know, Fancy Like Applebee's, you know, all, you know, they get the crowd dancing, you know, and, you know, and I'm sure you relate that the importance of playing to your crowd, you know, if you're playing in when you hit on this earlier, if you play in a veteran, you may necessarily play your veteran set. You're not going to play a set that you would play over here. Or if you're in a more laid back environment, you're going to play more over here than you are for the veterans. Or
Right.
So you got to play to your audience. And that's probably one of the biggest things I have seen, is where people don't believe in themselves and they go up there and, you know, they fail one time and they're like, I'm done. I'm not doing it again.
Well, I think that's what, you know, you don't necessarily hear enough stories about that, because there's a lot of people that do that. And that kind of lends itself to actually tell you how difficult it is to get up there and sing your heart out to people. You don't have any idea how they're going to react to it. It's not just some easy thing. I think people have kind of, where they can auto-generate all this stuff, and now there's singers on every street corner, basically everywhere you look. There's somebody, and there's some really good ones. And you know, I'm not even the best singer. I don't think I'm the best. I'm definitely not the best guitar player. But I stand on my songs and my lyrics. You know, that's what I stand on: my stories, songs, and lyrics. But yeah, it gets a little watered down when I watch some of these videos that get on and get millions and millions of streams, and I'm listening to this, you know, what does the fox say? You know,
I can't stand
this, like this. And you know what? If it's catchy, or, you know, those certain things, but they've trained you with what they play to what you think is supposed to be a good song. You know, it's Aaron Lewis just did a video, an interview with Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I have not.
But you should check that out. Aaron Lewis just kind of talks about how the industry essentially programs people to believe what good music is.
I'm going to definitely have to look into that.
So, yeah, it was pretty detailed, you know, because he went through the whole Stained thing, and now he's pretty much stone cold country, just telling it like it is. And I love him way more. I liked him with Stained, you know, back in the day, but I love him way more now for what he's the stories and songs that he writes and puts out there. And yeah, it's pretty badass.
I mean, look at Darius Rucker. I mean, come on. Hootie and the Blowfish.
Right. Well, then you got Jelly Roll. And the thing is, like, I love his message of the majority of the songs. I mean, I wouldn't ever really necessarily call it country, definitely not traditional, but the stories that he's telling are powerful and vivid and those kind of things. And that really happened to that dude. So to me, that's real deal stuff. So you got to give some props for that. And, some traditionalists will poo-poo that kind of stuff. Just because it's the guy with the tattoos all over his face and almost 500 pounds. Although he's lost a couple 100 pounds now, but it's like the Aaron Lewis's, and even like Cody Jinks is one of my favorites. I had the honor of opening for Cody a couple times here at Buck's Bar, world famous Buck's Bar in Venice, Nebraska. And Cody just exploded. So now
if he ever get a hold of him, pass me along. All right, introduce me. No,
I don't know if I could get past the security anymore. He's kind of a big deal.
Oh no, and that's where I see is I want and I want it to be all artists. The artists starting out to the artist out there that has 20 albums. I don't care, little, small, middle, I don't care where you're at. And everybody, like I said earlier, everybody has a story to tell. And that story is ever changing. The thing about a story is every story has chapters. Every chapter has an ending and every chapter has a beginning. So your story is constantly changing. Where you're at right now may not be where you're at a year and down the road.
Well, I kind of hope not. I'm pretty broke.
You and me both. But if you're ever in Missouri, buddy, and you need a sound guy, you just look me up.
Yeah, you got that. There's that bar down there that I think you've posted about, and the owner is Hayden. Golly, can't remember. It's not like Copacabana, but it's something like that.
Oh, Sticky Cabanas?
Sticky Cabana. Yeah, I talked with him a little bit, and I have a buddy that I played with, Billy Jack Purnell. I don't know if you know Billy Jack at all, but he's from Missouri, and he's played out at Sticky's a few times. So, yeah, if I get to a little more traveling, now that the warranty company is actually going to take care of my transmission that's about to blow. That was an awesome thing to hear yesterday. So I should be able to keep getting down the road at least.
Yeah, if you're ever in Missouri, like I said, and you don't want to bring sound equipment, I got you.
Heck yeah, those are the best ones, man. When you can just show up and plug in and a lot more.
Like I said, I'm not the best by any means, but I know enough to say I know what I'm doing.
I don't even really know enough to say what I'm doing. I got my little 2 speakers on a stand and put up my little PA, and I try to tweak it a little bit here and there, and off I go. Real and raw.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And here's this thing. If you're out there and you're watching this and you want to be a podcast, be an artist, whatever it is, check Marketplace. You can always find stuff. And it's better to spend a couple $100 to see if it's what you really want to do than spending $1,000 to get started.
Yeah.
And you don't need the high-end stuff to get started. I mean, when I first started, I bought a complete system off Marketplace for $450. It was a big old, everything was non-powered, heavy. It took the back of my pickup and the inside of my pickup to carry everything.
Yep.
I upgraded since, and that's how you do it. You upgrade a little bit at a time. I went from non-powered speakers to powered speakers to a different mixer to, you just got, once you find your niche, you can slowly start to fine tune it.
Yeah.
But my biggest advice would be if you're not sure that it's what you want to do, don't spend thousands of dollars, because if it's something you didn't want to do and you just wanted to try and it didn't make, now you have $1,000 that you just invested that never going to use. And unfortunately, the moment you bring it out of the store, the resale value just went down to $500.
Right. Yep. That's it, man. I learned that when we were getting big, and I started buying, $2,200 Gibsons and all this. And then all of a sudden something comes crashing down. Next thing you know, I'm selling my Gibson and my Taylor and my Martin and all my fancy guitars. And, this time around, I said, I'm just going to go get a nice, decent Epiphone, and it's hanging back there on the wall.
That's it.
she's pretty, and she does the job. She's got a nice tone, and I got another Epi as well that I got for my backup. But I figured if I was going to keep doing this, I better have at least 2 guitars. There were times I had, close to 10, and then you end up donating and selling and all those things. But
yeah, that's just the thing. You got to start small. You really do. And it's great to dream big, but don't set your goals too high to where if you don't reach them, you get upset.
Right. And then the other thing is, don't not do it. If it's something you really want to do and at least try to do, don't not do it because you don't have the $1,000 to pay. It's like you said, go get a cheap system, learn how to do it. If it sounds pretty good, you're going to get a gig or 2. And then next thing you know, you've got a solid gig. And next thing you know, you can upgrade that, your car or your amps or boards or whatever. But don't talk yourself out of not giving it a shot.
Exactly. Well, buddy, I want to thank you again for being on the show. And y'all stay tuned for next episode. Remember, love each other and encourage one another and build each other up.
Yes, sir.